always from the heart of the city, and now on demand 24/7 on the CHFI website. This is the soundtrack to an ill-fated voyage and another of discovery. And I'm Don Jackson, around the world on the internet. One ship drives east and another drives west with the self-same winds that blow. 'Tis the set of the sails and not the gales which tells us the way to go. Like the winds of the sea are the ways of fate as we voyage along through life. 'Tis the set of the soul that decides its goal, and not the calm or the strife. The Winds of Fate by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. On a voyage of discovery this hour, with lovers and other strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. The Honey Drippers and the Sea of Love. Simon and Garfunkel, A Bridge Over Troubled Water, and Norah Jones, and Don't Know Why. And I'm Don Jackson with lovers and other strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. We begin our voyage with Phillips Brooks, who wrote, "Think of life as a voyage. The truest liver of the truest life is like a voyager who, as he sails, is not indifferent to all the beauty of the sea around him. The morning and the evening sun, the moonlight and the starlight, the endless change of the vast water that floats on, the passing back and forth of other ships between him and the sky, the incidents and company on his own vessel, all these are pleasant to him. But their pleasure is borne up and woven in with his interest in the purpose for which he undertook the voyage that lies beyond and that lies under the voyage all the while. He is not sailing just for the sake of sailing. He would never have undertaken the voyage for his own sake. Another man who has no purpose beyond the voyage is vexed and uneasy. He is so afraid of not getting the best out of it that he loses its best. The spots and imperfections in its pleasure worry him. Those are the differences of the ways in which men live. One man forgets his own life in the purposes for which his life is lived, and he is the man whose life grows richest and brightest. Another man is always thinking about himself, and so never gets beyond himself into those purposes of living out of which all the fullness of personal life may flow back to him." Unquote. A voyage with Phillips Brooks. And our voyage begins this hour with lovers and other strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Train with Drops of Jupiter and Sarah McLachlan and A World on Fire. And I'm Don Jackson with lovers and other strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Anacharsis, who lived about 600 BC, said this on learning that the sides of a ship were only 4 fingers thick. The passengers are just that distance from death. Rabelais, in Works, Book 4, written sometime later in 1548, made a similar comment in chapter 23. "How thick do you judge the planks of our ship to be?" "Some 2 good inches and upward," returned the pilot. "It seems then we are within 2 fingers' breadth of damnation." As we have recently found out, the gashes in the Titanic made by the iceberg were really not all that big. But because of the location of the strikes, the ship was doomed. There was absolutely nothing that could have been done to prevent her sinking. Ralph W. Sockman wrote, "There are parts of a ship which, taken by themselves, would sink. The engine would sink. The propeller would sink. But when the parts of a ship are built together, they float." So, with the events of my life, some have been tragic, some have been happy. But when they are built together, they form a craft that floats and is going someplace. And I am comforted. Unquote. Built Together by Ralph W. Sockman. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and chfi.com. Elton John with Blue Eyes, Jack Soul on That Lonesome Highway, and Dido's White Flag. And I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and chfi.com. It's been said that life is a voyage in which we choose neither vessel nor weather, but much can be done in the management of the sails and the guidance of the helm. It's also been said great people are not affected by each puff of wind that blows ill. Like great ships, they sail serenely on in a calm sea or a great tempest. Unquote. And sometimes life is a journey in the mind. Joseph Fort Newton wrote, "Every man has a train of thought on which he rides when he is alone. The dignity and nobility of his life, as well as his happiness, depend upon the direction in which that train is going, the baggage it carries, and the scenery through which it travels." Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and chfi.com. Chicago, If You Leave Me Now, and Phil Collins and Can't Stop Loving You. And I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and chfi.com. Dr. Joyce Brothers was quoted in the Points to Ponder column of the October 1997 issue of the Reader's Digest magazine as saying, and I quote, "There is a rule in sailing where the more maneuverable ship should give way to the less maneuverable craft. I think this is sometimes a good rule to follow in human relationships as well." Unquote. The words of Joyce Brothers. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and chfi.com. Ryan Dan with The Face, and Whitney Houston, and I Will Always Love You. And I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and chfi.com. The Titanic sank on its maiden voyage from Southampton to New York after it struck an iceberg this night in 1912. The ship actually slipped beneath the waters after midnight on the 15th. But it is this night that we remember these 98 years later. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and chfi.com. I hope you will tell all your friends about lovers and other strangers. Good night, sweet dreams. I'm Don Jackson.